Hello and welcome to Intuitive Journey with Desiree. I am Desiree Holmes Scherini, your host. And today I'm really happy to have as a guest to interview Corbie Mitleid. And Corbie, I'm going to just turn here to her bio, is a psychic, channel, and medium reading since 1973. She travels coast to coast and into Canada as a full-time intuitive counselor. She's appeared frequently on radio and television and is an inspirational teacher and facilitator. She's featured channel in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough series, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love, and is herself the author of Clean Out Your Life Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? Her certifications and affiliations include being a certified Tarot master, a member of the American Tarot Association and the Tarot Guild, an ordained minister of the Sanctuary of the Beloved. Her specific skills include tarot and oracle divination, deck readings, spiritual intuitive counseling, past life retrieval and analysis, mediumship, and spirit guide conferences, including speaking with one's soul or higher self. And I am just fascinated with your bio and everything I've seen so far. And I'm very excited to have you here. So thank you, Corbie, and welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. So your book, of course, now I've turned that off, the guide to, discovering your psychic, the Yellow Brick Road.
You mean
that one? Glad you have it right there. Hold that a little closer so everybody can see it. I want everyone to see the cover. So the Psychic Yellow Brick Road. Okay. And what I liked about that, and you sent me a copy, thank you so much. And I've gotten most of the way through it. What's different about that, and what I'd kind of like to focus on in our time talking together, is helping people to discern and to get some tips and clues from you, as well as your background. So I'd like to start with, how did you get into this? What did you have, like a starting point? Did you always feel these things from childhood? I'm always interested in hearing how people opened up that third eye.
Oh, this is what I call the 30-second elevator speech.
Yeah.
When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I went, great, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973, when I was a senior in high school. Yes, that tells you how old I am.
And you were 12 years old in high school. I know. Go on.
Oh, honey, your nose is growing, Pinocchio. I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts, and they had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. I loved the cards. They fascinated me. I loved the stories they told. So when 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls, I was still working with the cards. So I read for 20 years for friends, making sure that I kept my ego out of the picture, and I was a clear channel. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden in 1994, I could talk to I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That was when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. So that was part-time. Meanwhile, very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, wrote for a graphic novel series for 10 years, video producer, legal assistant, executive recruiter, but always a psychic work on the side. When we watched the towers burn on 9/11, I turned to my husband and I said, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there's something else out there. And he said, I believe in you, go do it. So for a year, still worked 70 hours a week as an executive recruiter, psychic work evenings and weekends. In 2002, closed the door on corporate work and have never looked back.
Fantastic. And I apologize. I have my little helper here, but I figured this.
Oh, never apologize for a cat in my house.
I figured this is actually an okay session to have a black cat in my lap, right?
Yes, it is. And he's smaller than my 26-pound Maine Coon cat, so he's fine.
Perfect. I would love to see him. Anyway, so I'm curious. One of the things I'm studying and do as well as a little bit of what you do, as things have come to me, and I decided also that it was a help to people, especially with grief. Mm-hmm. And as a hypnotherapist and life coach, even with something like that, I have people think it's weird, So how did you manage when you were still in the corporate world and shadow self, did you tell people, in your regular job, what you were doing, and how did that go over?
Now, for one thing, I used a different name. Elton John's real name is Reginald Dwight. Well,
Okay,
Corbie
yeah.
Mitleid is my Elton John name. My legal
Okay,
name I keep very private.
interesting.
The
Okay.
one funny thing that I did love is because I was a theater major at Brown, I can do anybody's accent. So as an executive recruiter, if we had a client who was calling from London, I would, slip into the London cadence and I'd say, I'll have him bring you back, which of course is English speak, or I'll have him call you.
Oh.
So for the mysterious Santa presents that year, my boss had me, and she got me a t-shirt that said, "You're just jealous that the voices talk to me," thinking that it was about my being able to do the accents, and couldn't understand why I was laughing so hard. One of my favorite t-shirts for years until it wore out.
That's wonderful. I love that.
But
Okay, yeah.
no, it
Mhm.
was private until I went public.
Right. Okay. That I'm always interested how people manage that, and so it's very interesting. So I'll work on my pseudonym for, my feather dancer or something. So
Mhm.
tell me about how you ended up writing your books. And so you have that book and you have another book. You have the two books
Yeah,
right now?
I have three actually.
Okay.
The first one was Selfhelp. The other two are in the psychic world.
Okay.
The third one I just wrote is called You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? And that's specifically for people who want to make a living at doing what I do. It's what I call the A-lister's guide to holistic expo success.
Okay.
Because I used to be on the road 45 weekends a year. My nickname was the Travel Channel, but that's that. This book I wrote specifically because of something that I saw happen in Canada 15, 16 years ago. This was a huge expo, 250 booths. Now, we were across from what I call a fake gypsy, the jingling jewelry, the bad accent, all of that stuff, the hand on the poster. And there was a woman who was walking down the aisle, and the fake gypsy comes running out from her booth and grabs the woman by the arm. Now, this in the psychic show parlance is called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking. But she says, "Oh, you no need to pay 30, 40, $50. I read your palm for 10. Come." Drags the woman behind the screen. 20 minutes later, a bunch of us across the aisle see her client leaving crying hysterically. So we all run over to see what's up. And apparently the fake gypsy has said, "Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small, we fix." And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle, her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks. And she bought it.
Yeah.
That sent me, that was such a hot button. So there are lots of people who want to avail themselves of intuitive counseling, but don't want to learn how to do it themselves. It's like, I want to go to a museum to see a Holbein painting. I don't need to learn how to do oil painting.
Right.
So that's why this book is written, not to do psychic development, though of course you can, we're all wired the same, but how to go into a psychic situation and be completely safe.
And you're talking about the Yellow Brick Road book.
Yes,
Yeah.
this one.
And that's particularly, and exactly one of the reasons I love that book, and that you did that, and that we can share this here, is because I have a story like that too. And I like to think that I was a little more savvy, but I was sitting with 3 friends having lunch some years ago, and a young woman walks over to us and says, "I do readings and I can do them." And, and of course they're interested, right? And I went ahead and had like cards read right there at the table. A couple of us did. And then she says, "You come to me, I have more. Come to my apartment, we make an appointment." So fast forward. My 2 friends were both very, and not to say I wasn't, but they really wanted to know about their love life, right? And they were real concerned about what was happening. One went like 3, 4 times until she finally says, "No, there's something going on," where every time she asks for more money, similar stuff to you, that if you don't do this, then this might happen. Take this thing home, sleep with it in your bed, and you give me this much money. I've put my, lift the curse of no love off you. The other one, she kept stringing her along. My friend asked me to go with her and to one of them. And we walk into the woman's apartment because she's like, I don't know about her. And on the
Very
floor,
smart.
the woman on the floor had her computer open to how to be a psychic medium. It's like
Really?
you could at least close the
Ooh.
computer. I mean, I've taken courses online, to kind of understand and hone from reputable people, but especially 2020 is when but it's not to dismiss that, but it's kind of funny because she's like, she's doing her homework just before the woman walks in, right? But it wasn't.
I believe the phrase is busted.
Yeah. So you could at least close it. But my friend, but she told her similar story. Okay, your relationship's going to fall apart unless you do this. The only way to have the love work out is to do this. I am the only one who can get this like relic or something from the Catholic Church. It's blessed, $800. But if you don't do this, it's not going to happen for you. And so my friend was in tears because she says, if I don't do it, she says it won't. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't do it. What are wrong with you? Anyway, so yes. So your book, what I'd love you to do is to maybe if you can kind of describe the book, what your readers would get out of this book. As for those that are looking for a psychic reading, what they should be looking for in somebody and what to expect and what to walk away from, like you say, and your book describes the Clio and so just take it off and tell me why you wrote, we know why you wrote it, but what are some tips from there? What should people know?
Okay. The book is written 6 parts: psychic boot camp, the ins and outs of a psychic session, what to watch out for anytime someone says, I'm the only one, get up and run, working with angels and spirit guides, mediumship, that sort of thing. The first thing I teach you, I have a lecture that I do called Psychics 101, the good, the bad, and the Cleos. And I give you a mnemonic, PSYCHIC. And each one of those stands for something to do. P is for professionalism. Check and see how much of a professional they are. S is for sharing references. Always get references. If we're professional, we have people who will tell you how we are. Or read our website for testimonials. Y is you are in charge of your life. Always listen to the information, decide does it make sense or not. C is for charges, what's fair, what's not. H are here, I can fix anything for a price, stories like you and I just gave. I is inappropriate actions, and C is for connections. Now, let's say that you're going into an expo. You don't know any of us from Adam's house. There I tell you, you have to behave like a good puppy. First, you have to do your walkies. You go in and you walk around and you look at all the booths. You don't necessarily talk to us, but you get a feel. Then, you'll see maybe half a dozen people that, they might be good. And then like a good puppy, you go get paper trained. We will all have flyers or rack cards like this that will give information on who we are and maybe some testimonials on the back. You're going to go and you're going to read through these, come back to 2 or 3 psychics that feel good. Talk to us if we're available. If not, talk to our front people. But remember, we hire our front people to say they love us. My first front person was Laura Spickerman, whom I adore, but she was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday. Do you think she's going to dismiss as museum director? No, probably not. Again, testimonial book on the table. Read through it. Are we good? Are we kind? Are we funny? Do we have specialties? Will people come back? And the last thing, my darlings, is check in at heart level. You are putting your hard-earned money on the table. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really care about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there no matter how cool the Wikiboo looks on the table. That's the rules.
Even that cool, I do love the look of that crystal ball. Real pretty, but
yes.
I have one for decorative purposes at home, but I don't use it,
So, and just like in decorating, how we do our table is really going to tell you what we do. When you come to my table, it's not full of glorious crystals, and it's got lots of written information for you. It's got my stone raven, and it's got my books. So There's no way that I am telling you I am the most amazing, magical person in the world. I'm about as practical a psychic as you gonna get, because I'm in New York.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to go to if I was going to a psychic.
Mhm.
Give me concrete information I can use. Don't do fluffy.
Right. And so when someone goes into a psychic, now they've chosen, what, and I'm all about intuition. It's one of the things that I like to teach people is how to trust their heart, both in life coaching and every day. Because if you trust your intuition, everything is so much easier,
Yes.
So, they get the feeling, and there is a real physical draw, right? So you get that good feeling, you go in, and when you're in there, I know your book talks about asking questions, not asking questions. One of the things, I even have a friend, one of the friends that was worried about a romance. She'll ask me to draw a card, and she often wants a yes or no. And I usually say, well, it's as things stand at this time. This is the likely, thing. And this just is for your information. It's not like yes or no, so she'll try to trick me. She'll say, well, that's not what my card said when I drew it. And I'm like, okay, you got a different
Thank you for
answer.
sharing.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess time will tell. I don't know. I'm just saying this is the card that I drew that's showing this likelihood according to this card. It's not yes or no. Anyway, so I know people come in, and I know one of the things that people will do is they will they'll try to withhold any information just to test the psychic. So is that useful to them? I mean, it's not.
No,
not really.
No, don't waste my time. Don't waste your money.
Mhm.
If you sit down with me and say, all right, tell me something that you couldn't know about me, and then I'll have a reading with you if you're right. I will look at you and say, I'm sorry, I don't roll over and fetch either, and you're out of my booth.
Yeah.
When you sit down with me, I'm going to ask you, what's the most important thing you want to walk out of here knowing today? Because even if we have a half an hour, if your life is this big, I could go really fast to here, but if what you wanted was here, you go, oh, she was laughing. So if you say, for instance, I really want to take a look at my career, I'll go, great. Now, 3 ways we can look at it. Stay where you are, change jobs, or open your own place. Why do I ask? Because each one of these is a 10 to 15 card, multi-card spread. So let's say you said, I'm opening up a vintage clothing shop. Great. It would not be a couple of cards, wait until January and fire the redhead. What's that do for you? Be a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, a card for the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Notice that puts a rocket pack on your back. Because when you say to me, is my business going to be successful? I will look at you and say, and whatever I said, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge. Where are you going to go with that?
Right.
I teach my clients how to ask the useful, enlightening questions. As a certified tarot master and certified professional tarot reader, that was one of the things that we had to do, is demonstrate that we could help our clients ask the right questions to get the information they really wanted. Now, if someone comes in and says, oh, I'm dating Bruce, I just don't know, I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to do a card for her, a card for Bruce, a card for the relationship as it stands, what she needs to know, and best possible outcome. But then I'll shut up. If she goes, I still don't know, fine, 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo, you just kind of sit there and deal with it. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting, you do serious work, and 3 cards for hostile bye-bye, I'll send you a postcard. Now, one of those 3 may be blinking at me, tell her this, but I will read all 3 sets and shut up because it's her free will that needs to make a decision. The only reason I overstep my bounds and throw off the tarot hat and put on my reverend collar is if she says she's battered or gaslighted.
Well, yeah.
Then she needs help getting out of this. But other than that, no, it's up to her. And if she needs to stay in the relationship to learn something, I'm not going to be the one to say, see, it says you'll be better off if you leave. That's her thing.
Yeah. But you can, the cards are looking like, leaving my.
Oh, I tell her exactly what they say.
Yeah. And then
but there's some people that are stubborn. It's just like, oh, I know I should leave, but I want to stay. Well, then stay, honey, and learn.
Yeah. I as a life coach, I know how that can be with certain times. I recently asked somebody, do you want to be happy? And the answer was yes, but. all the reasons why not. I said, okay, well, I think
But is the trip
we
up
need to get
word.
to turn off the butt.
Mhm.
So, and I noticed when you brought up, if they ask a question, they need, to provide them the best information, they need to give you the information that they like, narrow it down. So if somebody just, if they're asking about career, you could lay out the same cards and be able to focus it on what that means about career. If they're asking about relationship, the same cards could fall, but then you translate it into what that means about a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Let's take the card, the Tower. The Tower card is basically, everyone says it's doom, gloom, and destruction. But I say, no, it's more like the imploding sports stadium card. Okay. Boston Red Sox want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up Fenway first and clear the ground. So in a career, what that might say is you got to watch out for downsizing. You have to watch out for a new boss that's going to upend everything. You have to watch out for, legalities. In a relationship, there's going to be something that's really going to knock you for a loop, and you have to decide, is it worth staying and trying to rebuild the relationship, or is it toast? So the card has the same general meaning, but it's like a kaleidoscope. You always have the same 100 pieces of glass, but as you turn it, they make different pictures.
Right. And the card that comes after the Tower, or the card that comes after the Death card, sure gives a lot of information too. It's like, where's that possibly going to lead? So that's true. It's like the Death and the Tower. That's one of the more what's the right word? Encouraging things.
Death.
That I've learned
is
it means it's not like, oh my God, someone's going to die. It could be, or my life is going to fall apart. It could, but there's like something on the other side, and
yes.
So it can always be changed in perspective, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what are some other things that you'd like to, if someone comes to you or as a client, that they should know, or they should, that they're for their best interest?
Don't compare us to somebody else. If you are asking me to channel a past life for you, when I'm in the middle of it, don't say, well, Madam Hoo-ha said this, or Swami Swalananda said that I was in 57 lives, or even, no, I don't think so, because you're derailing the train. Okay. When you compare me to somebody else, I don't know whether that person was good or bad. I don't know how well they read you. And you're telling me not to listen to my guides with what they're saying. We may say something to you that makes no sense in the moment, but weeks, months out, it will. Simple. Yeah. I was in Canada. I told a woman 2 things that were challenges that were possibly coming down the pike. She looks at me, she says, you suck, and she gets up and she walks away. But 3 months later, when I'm back, she's the first person in my seat. And she says, you told me that I was going to have to take an aborter, and then I was going to probably want to sell my house. And I thought that was all bull, but my daughter got pregnant, moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house to raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you do. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. I
still don't like the message. Yeah. Why'd you have to say that? Well, as an example, I had a friend and talk about like what not to do as a reader. And there are these red flags, like you say, one of the red flags, if they tell you doom and gloom is coming, like you're gonna die, or you have to do this. So that's why I always like to say, it looks like this is a direction things might go, right? But I had a friend, when she was a young woman, I don't know, 20 something, had a reading, and the tarot reader told her that she was not going to get married until late in life. Told her a fact, you're not going to get married until late in life. So she ended up meeting a guy, getting engaged. And this was so writing somehow in the back of her mind that she broke up the engagement because she knew that she wasn't going to get married until late in life. And she still, thinks about that and has never gotten married. And she knows logically that she shouldn't have listened to that woman. But so if, like you're saying,
people do that because they want to look amazing. I remember a week before I got married, which is 19 years ago now, I met a very famous Native American seer. He shook my hand and immediately said, oh, stomach cancer within 2 years, you're going to have a terrible time getting rid of it. No, it
Wow.
never happened.
You're like, nice to meet
But
you
I didn't
too.
need to hear that. Now, his wife had just had been diagnosed with a brain tumor, so maybe cancer was on his mind.
Mhm.
But no, that's what I call a drive-by psychic shooting. I didn't ask for a reading. I didn't expect a reading, and he just hit me upside the head. I'd met him for all of 30 seconds. That's incredibly rude and really, really bad manners.
Yeah. And if he was getting something, what he could have said was, I'm sensing something that maybe you want to check out. Just take a look
Yes,
at this area of your body, just to make sure.
yes.
And
That's how I do
not
it.
some like definitive, you're going to get this, because you don't have to get it. You know,
That's right. Perfect
it's
example.
information,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I saw gray in a guy's chest. I said, yeah, you want to go get it checked out. 5 years later, his wife, now his widow, comes back to me and says, we cannot thank you enough. What you saw was the very beginnings of ALS. And
Oh,
because we caught it early, we had a good 4 years together. Thank you. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say, I see you with Lou Gehrig's disease, you're going to die.
Yeah.
I just saw it looks a little
there's
funky.
something.
Go talk to a doctor.
Yeah. So tell me, when, speaking of intuition and how this comes to you, this is always the fascinating part to me, and to understand it, because like sometimes you just kind of know, or you kind of see how do you, like you said, you saw a little gray. So when you the cards aside, when you meet someone or get a feeling about someone, just say like being around them, how does that translate for you? Do you get sounds, lights, feelings?
Never
You feel it in your
happens
body?
because I have an open and a closed sign.
Mm-hmm.
I will not read you at all unless we have sat down. You've either paid me, or we've bartered, or we've agreed it's pro bono. Because that way, you can trust me not to go rifling around in your file cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay. So it depends, just like a doctor doesn't use the same tool all the time. I blank out really well. It doesn't mean that I'm, like this, but I send my ego up here. It's reading the magazine. If you have a past life situation you want to ask me about, I will close my eyes. I will literally see it run like a movie. If you want to talk to one of your dead people, I don't go fishing because I don't want to waste time. So I tell you, give me the dog tags. My father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80. Notice, tells me nothing, but gets me into the energy. Then what happens is my guides are almost like charades. So if I mind smoking, this person smoked. If I put my hands on my chest and move out, they had surgery. If I whack my forehead, it was a fast death or unexpected. Once I get something that's an absolute for what this person knows, then I open up and the person can talk to them directly. Examples. A woman wanted to speak to her father-in-law. All of a sudden, I felt myself miming the pool cue. He had taught her how to play pool. A woman wanted to speak to her grandfather up in Ontario. I find myself saluting. Now, Americans salute with their palm down. Brits and Canadians salute with a palm out. She had just graduated from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Academy the week before, and he was acknowledging and saying he was proud. That's not, it's a rose, she loves you.
Right.
So I'm very comfortable with those things.
Yeah.
And again, I'll get words. There was a woman in York, Pennsylvania. Her husband had died 6 months before. She wanted to speak to him. She didn't tell me where they had lived or where he had grown up. But I feel my hands go out in a big gesture and my head tilts, and what comes out of the mouth? But hey, baby.
Yeah.
Texas. That's how we walked into the house every night after work.
Cute.
Those are real things.
So it comes to you physically almost, like, because
mediumship does, yes.
Yeah. When I'll see pictures, so it's interesting. And I know some people will smell stuff and see and feel. So that's interesting that you feel you will find yourself doing things,
yes,
that physically translate as your signs and your interpretation. Right. So that's very interesting.
When I do past lives, it's different, but I won't just fish. Again, come to me.
Right.
A woman said, my son's in his late 20s. He won't live more than a mile from me. He asked me about everything. I'm so worried. Why isn't he being more independent? And again, this is a matter of spirit uses what we're good at. I was a history major. I said, okay, I'm seeing Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. He's got a really mangled leg. You're his commanding officer. You're dragging him over a dune. You take some shrapnel too, but both of you get out alive. She looks at me and she's very pale. She says, can you tell me what my rank was? I said, yeah, you're a sergeant. She goes, he has called me Sarge since he was 3 years old and we didn't know where that came from.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
So in that case, you're able to unwind a challenge on Earth now.
Exactly.
That's what past lives are for.
Yeah. And I do past life regression with hypnosis, similar thing to say, for someone who's got a challenge or what it is and they can't figure out, and I say, go back to the source and just even knowing, identifying, oh, this is something from then, and it doesn't mean anything now, that to have that information and say, oh, okay, when I can let go of that, and do some clearing. And of course, there's lots of people that, they poo-poo past lives, but
no.
Yeah.
We're not smart enough to get it done in one. And, with what you bring up, I want to point out something very, very important to your watchers. There's a difference between retrieval, which is what I do, and regression, which is what Desiree does.
Yes.
Never, ever, ever do past life regression with someone who is not a certified hypnotherapist or a past life specialist. Why? Okay. Because if you see your death or you're getting gang raped or something like that, the professionals know how to pull you out and make sure you don't get caught in the emotions. Exactly. Someone who is just trying this for a lark, you could do yourself a lot of mental and emotional damage.
Yeah. And that was what I brought up in the beginning about your book for psychic readers, and like there's good ones and bad ones. And I personally really pride myself on knowing the right way. And for example, and there are people out there that just, okay, I know somebody who I did a hypnosis for, and we regressed just to an earlier childhood thing where she found some trauma and we cleared it out. And then when I brought her out, she goes, oh, is that hypnosis? Oh, I do that with my clients. And then next thing I saw, she was listing hypnosis on her website with no training.
No.
Okay. And so I was like, wait, it can be emotionally dangerous, just like being told, oh, you're going to die. And for example, what I will do, just for information for the listeners, is if there's an area where someone's experiencing trauma or the death experience, I have them be the observer, just like it's on TV. You're just watching it. You don't feel it, and you easily pass through this. And I do a lot of surrounding with positive energy and protection and guide work. And so we result, but you're so right. And like we said earlier, check somebody's website, check their references, check, their credentials. And it's and also another thing, psychic, medium, tarot, people seldom think that there are these groups professional groups that you belong to. So when you find somebody who's doing readings, you go and look because you belong. Name some of the groups you belong to again, like the certifications that you have. That's important. That means that you're a professional.
Right. And I send people to there because the more certified professionals we have in our field, the old expression, all boats rise.
Exactly. And one of the things that, when I began doing like some tarot or mediumship, when these, especially the mediumship kind of gift fell on me when my mom passed, and just before her too, all of a sudden I just started knowing things. And so I decided to study it. And one of the things I was afraid of when we talk about, when I asked you about your job and that sort of thing, is that even as a hypnotherapist life coach, people thought I was weird, right? And that's, but then when I started adding that I'm trained in some of these other, and I practice some of these other things like tarot or intuitive readings and such.
Yeah.
What happened was I wanted to, keep it at this professional level. Like you say, I'm not Madame Chloe. I'm not walking around dragging you out of off the sidewalk. And it's, the charges are, along the same lines as what I do anyway. I try to dress professionally when I'm working with somebody. I'm not in my tie-dye shirt. I'm not, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Unless it calls for like something like Reiki. But so yeah, there's a certain level of professionalism that people should look for in anything, even if they think it's a woo-woo thing, that check the person's, credentials and look at that and expect professionalism.
Yes. To me, dressing professionally not only makes me feel centered in my abilities, but it's a matter of respect to my client.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wear my World of the Psychic Dr. Peter Venkman shirt from Ghostbusters, even though I love it to bits.
That sounds like fun. Yeah.
Oh, well, Ghostbusters was, but you're going to get me like this. And especially if you've never had a reading from me before, that relaxes you, because subconsciously you're going to say, she looks like she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And as a hypnotist, we have to have the pre-talk, and the pre-talk is probably half of the success,
Yes.
We let them know that
Yes.
actually this is going to work very well for them, and it does. It's, and there comes the belief,
Yep.
And I think your other book where you talk about, who needs magic, you hold that one up.
Who needs a genie?
Yes, who needs a
That's
genie? You
this
got
one.
your own magic, right? You've got the magic. Who needs a genie? So tell us a little bit about that one, because there's a lot about, I believe that there's a lot about having confidence and belief in yourself.
Yes. It's what I call straddling the twin mountains of business acumen and Wikiboo. Okay.
Wikiboo, I like that.
When you do it as 6 days a week, the way I do for 20 years now, you learn a lot of important things in terms of how to run a business. And a lot of people don't have my corporate background. So this literally goes with, again, the basics, the social approach, the intangibles, the keys to self-care, the grab bag, things like private parties, corporate gigs. And I have things in here that I call Corbie Gets Candid, that explains to you why you need to do things. Okay. One of my favorite stories, if you'll notice in the back, one of the sample things I have is a copy of my sign-in sheet. And I explain in here why it is important to have a sign-in sheet. And that was because at a show in Toronto, there was someone who did not like what I told them. And the next day, I found an anonymous death threat on my desk. Now,
wow,
it was handwritten. Because I always have the person sitting with me handwrite the information, name, email, birthday, we were able to match the handwriting. I handed the death threat to the promoter who got in touch with the police. Now, these are not love and light, blurpy purple with angel things. These are things that happen.
Yeah.
And so if I can keep you safe, if I can show you how to deal with things well, if I can help you stay on the road. I mean, one of the chapters is how to charge what you're worth.
Right.
Don't you tell me because this is spiritual, you shouldn't be charging. It's bad to charge.
And so many people have this attitude, oh, you have a gift and you should give it away freely. Yeah. And if you have a gift, you also still have to pay rent and eat food,
I know. I mean, yeah, they gave it away in 6th century Ireland because as a seer and an oracle, you were so respected by the village, they'd bring you a chicken. They'd bring you a cloak. They'd get you firewood. You're not going to do that.
There was a barter,
Yes.
Yeah. And art, artists had their sponsors, that's how people with a talent or a gift were provided for. And like some people have a gift for business, right? They just have a business mind, but they sure get paid their paycheck. So yeah.
I tell people, switch it to another profession. I get told, oh, well, you should be reading for free. Why won't you read me for free? You're not very spiritual. Would you say to the doctor, wow, you're going to charge me for an office visit? You're not very compassionate. You want me to get sick and die, don't you? Nobody would do that.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
And that's part of
clean my house a few times for free. And if you're good, I'll tell everybody. Oh,
yeah,
right.
And the same thing is, it just goes back to the professionalism and to raise the professionalism of what we do in, these areas. It really helps benefit everybody. And
It does.
and then we belong to memberships, we study, we get certifications, and those things cost us money. It's not
They do.
like we're just sitting burning our candles all day with my black cat,
Please.
Look
Look at you with the glasses there.
Right.
Look, there are 7 billion people in the world. Kids, I'm 66. I'm going to die before I read them all. If I can help raise up the new generation of psychics, it is not competition for me. I am happy to share with you absolutely everything I've got. The only thing I always ask people not to do is don't use my words. That's plagiarism.
Yeah.
That's part of my gift. Somebody lifted stuff from my brochures, put it on their website. I landed on them. Did it ruin the friendship? Yeah, it did, but she should have known better. You
could at least kind of, substitute some words, use one sentence or something and make your own. But that's, someone's too lazy to do their own work and just, grab it. That's not great.
No.
Or they could at least offer to pay you for
karma will
copywriting.
bite you. Yeah. Karma will bite you in the butt.
Yeah, it will. Something came to me and then went right back out. It'll come back. But your third book that you wrote, that was the first one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That is Clean Out Your Life Closet. And it's about clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. And I wrote that because those were the 4 things that my clients kept coming to me with. And also, look, we have all bought self-help books. There's not one person in the world that hasn't.
Yeah.
But they all say, do everything I tell you and it all gets better. Right. You're going to tell me not to eat food with leptin in it, and I have to get up at 3 a.m. to do yoga. I live in Milwaukee. I have 2 preschoolers and I drive a school bus.
Exactly.
You're not having that. So what I do is I say, look, here's some of the stupid things I did. And I'm funny. And here's some client thoughts. And here's some possibilities. But at the end of each chapter, what you've got are what I call the adventure pages. And you cannot go back and see where I said X because you won't answer things. It's things like, for the chapter, finding happiness with what you have right now. How good are you at finding happiness in the moment? If you aren't good, what do you think stops you? Think of 3 situations in your life that aren't looking terrific right now. How can you find some happiness in the journey?
Yeah.
By the end of this book, if you do all the chapter questions, this becomes your personal manual.
Fantastic.
I believe in my readers helping me write that book.
Yeah.
And
it's similar
we've got
to
a
the
4th
format
one coming up now.
That's similar to the format I did in the book I wrote, that at the end of every chapter, there are like intuitive questions to ask yourself.
Yep.
Because that's what worked for me, was
Exactly.
answering my own questions.
Right.
Because, and here's another point, tarot reader, intuitive reader, life coach, don't expect us to have the answers. You have your own answers. Expect us to help facilitate you finding those answers, that the answers are within you. We're here as a guide and to give you some information to use or not to use. It's up to you.
Right.
So
we are the toolbox, and we hand you the toolbox, but we're not the repairman. That's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. We can give you information and guidance, but it's up to the individual to choose to do what they do with their own life. Right.
Absolutely.
So, because there are people that just hop around from one thing to another, waiting for like the magic wand. And like that, your book says, you've got your own magic. You've got your magic. We may be genies, but you're the one with the magic. So it's teamwork.
That's right.
It's really teamwork. Whenever you go to a reader or a hypnotherapist, life coach, it takes 2 to get the goal met or to get the information where you want the information to go. So
right, because if you turn it all over to the reader, that's when they say, I have specially blessed candles, $600.
Yes. Oh, no. Don't listen to yourself, listen to me.
Oh, and if anyone ever tells you they're the only reader for you, run. Run. Yeah. I do not care if you ever have a reading with me. If my book is useful to you, I've done my job.
Yeah. Great. Anyway, so I love that. I love all your books. Now I'm part of the way through one of them, and I look forward to looking at the others. And I highly recommend all of our listeners and viewers take a look at that. And the information will be down in the details of where to find her books and how to contact Corbie. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close off here?
Only one more thing, and
Yes.
don't laugh. How many women don't say no? They think, but I have to, etc. It's to the point where I now have a postcard that I give my clients. No is a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I like it.
When you say no to somebody else for what you don't want to do, you're saying yes to yourself. And when you say yes to yourself, that is the start of spiritual growth.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Just say no. Yeah.
Right. Say yes to you.
Yeah.
The other.
Yes, exactly. Because I know it's true. It's like people ask, okay, yes, sure. And then it's like, what was I thinking? Yeah. So I'm actually working on that. I'm actually learning to work on saying no to myself as well, because there's so many things I want to say yes to for myself. I'm looking at honing, focusing a little more at one thing at a time, at least. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Corbie, thank you for joining me. I have loved talking to you. And I will, like I said, all her information will be in the details. And this was fascinating. Thank you. And you've got a book for the seeker, and you've got a book for the reader, and you've got a book for the general public. And so there's something for everybody. And you're fascinating. So thanks very much. And I'm going to just say goodbye and thank you for being here with me on this episode. And I will see you later.